And welcome to Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. I'm your host, Steve Ricardo, coming to you from the New Alliance Music and Art Complex in beautiful Somerville, Union Square. Diya's back. Hi, Diya.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Did you have a good week?
I had a good week. It was, it was a semi-productive week.
Well, I'm glad you're back.
It's nice to be
And
back.
you know, the feedback of you has been fabulous.
Ooh.
Herb, too.
Nice to hear.
Both of you guys are getting fabulous feedback.
Awesome.
But we're going to talk, but I'm going to do some rock and roll road stories first, okay?
All right.
All right, I'm going to talk about one of my all-time favorite bands for a few minutes here. That being Boston's own garage pop punk legends, The Outlets. I was first introduced to The Outlets while I was at WDJM in Framingham, at Framingham State University, where we played the hell out of a couple of their singles. The first one was The Outlets' first Boys Life single on Modern Method, which had their two songs, Knock Me Down, and actually a cover of the Monkees' You Told Me, which was written by Michael Nesmith himself. And the other single was The Outlets' Best Friends / Bright Light single, which is also on Modern Method. Those songs in the early 80s introduced me to the band, and I fell in love with them right on. Both of those records also ranked very high in the Boston Rock Greatest Releases Ever category. I don't know if there's a category called the Boston Rock Greatest Releases Ever category, but now there is, because I just gave them their own category. I remember seeing the band as a youngster at the Rat back in their heyday. It was one of the best shows that I ever saw, and it made me a lifelong fan. In fact, when I was working at Enigma Records, one of my first goals was to sign the Outlets, which I did in 1985, and we released their album Whole New World, which was one of the first releases on Restless Records, which was the independent imprint of Enigma. When we did a deal with Capitol Records at Enigma, we decided that not every band could go through the major distribution, so we kept some of them independently, and the Outlets was one of them. And that Whole New World record was one of the first records we put out. About 5 years later, I worked with Mr. David Alex Barton, the singer and lead guitarist of the band, again. I signed him to a publishing deal at Third Stone Music, the company owned by the actor Michael Douglas, who some people know as Gordon Gekko from Wall Street, and many other great films. Romancing the Stone is where the name Third Stone Music comes from. He also had Stonebridge Entertainment and Stone Group Pictures. All the money that he made from Romancing the Stone, he filtered into other companies, and he gave a lot of younger people, producers, directors, a chance to do their thing, including us, because he started a music department, which I was lucky to work at. One of our best accomplishes for Dave and I while we were working there was the film Hard Promises, which was shot down in Austin, Texas. I was the assistant music supervisor of the project and was completely taken by shock when I was asked if I would be in the band because they didn't have a bass player. So if you watch the film Hard Promises and you see the band playing at the wedding, you'll see me on bass.
Wedding band.
Yep, I was in a wedding band.
Nice.
And we did the song, I Knew the Bride When She Used to Rock and Roll. It was an old Nick Lowe, Dave Edmunds tune.
Steve's in a movie.
I was. We had a lot of fun. We hung out with all the people on the film, which was William Peterson, who ended up doing CSI, big show. Sissy Spacek, Carrie herself, Mia Winningham, who, I went to see her play. She was also a country singer, and I went to see her one time after the film, and she was hugging me. And I go back. I got to tell a little story here. I go backstage afterwards, and Sean Penn's hanging out back
No way.
So I got to meet Sean Penn because him and Mia Winningham were good friends.
Nice.
They did some films together. I can't recall. But we spent a lot of time with the film crew and the actors down there. And Dave and I, we had a blast. We were down in Austin for 3 weeks. That was around 1990, yeah. Dave and I have remained friends in touch over the years. In fact, I just saw him on March 6th at the last New Alliance Art Show he came down with his wife, Susan, which was a pleasant surprise because I had my art up there and they didn't even know I did art. They were coming down for a completely other reason, which I don't even remember. I also worked with Rick Barton for several years, the other guitar player in the Outlets, managing his band Continental, which was Rick's first breakthrough project following a long stint. It's funny how I call that a breakthrough project when he actually started the Dropkick Murphys. I think that was his, real first breakthrough project after the Outlets. Him and Ken Casey started the band together, and Rick wrote most of the songs on the first 2.5 records, and then he left the band when they went in more of a... they changed, the Dropkicks changed their style from punk rock to more like... they incorporated other instrumentation, and he didn't want anything to do with that. But the Barton brothers, as I've mentioned many times on my show, are both firmly implanted in my music biography, so I can't really go too long without mentioning them. We're going to play a song from that legendary 2007 album, which was entitled Outlets 1980 Rock, where the original members of the band got back together after 37 years and recorded all these songs that they never had recorded before. And it was recorded at New Alliance in Cambridge. This is a track called I'm a Mess. And we're going to hear that first, and then we'll talk a little bit about that New Alliance thing. Take it away, Herb.
Seems real to you. Tell me how's it feel
And that was The Outlets, I'm a Mess, recorded in 2007 at New Alliance in Cambridge, Mass. By Ethan DeSalt. I always wonder if I say his name right. DeSalt? Herb is DeSalt? Yeah. Ethan. We'll just say Ethan. I actually wrote Ethan and asked him for a quote about working on that record, and he gave me one. He wrote, "My memory of working with the Outlets was that they seemed young for their age, where it counted. They were older than me by a bunch of years, but once the mics were hot, they played the way the music demanded. I mean, I think 1980 sounds pretty youthful." It's a funny quote. You never know what kind of quote you're going to get from people when you ask for one. But that record is really a fabulous record, so I'd recommend check it out. Okay, lately we've been coming up with some really interesting off-the-wall topics, and we really got a doozy this week. We're going to talk about healthy living. Are you living a healthy life? And what are we doing to become more healthy? So, Diya, I know you are a life coach. So what would you do if someone like Herb came to you for advice on this topic? You know how Herb likes the Hot Pockets? Because I've seen him eat the Hot Pockets a few times. So what would you do to help Herb with his healthy living?
I guess we'd start with the Hot Pockets. Herb, how many Hot Pockets do you consume in a day?
Well, yeah, that depends on the level of hunger I am experiencing. And I'll have to say, if I'm hungry enough, I will consume a packet of 4.
A packet of 4? How big are these Hot Pockets?
I mean, they're regular Hot Pocket size,
Okay.
I switch them around. Sometimes I go with the cheese and sausages. Sometimes I go with the pizza ones. I mean, I'm not trying to brag here, but it's quite a meal.
It's quite a snack.
Are you serious? You really eat 4 Hot Pockets a day? No, you're shaking your head, but
Absolutely
the camera's not on you, so the YouTube
true.
people won't know that you're saying no.
He's shaking his head vigorously, telling us that he does not actually consume 4 Hot Pockets a day. But there are people who do. I guess I would talk to you about, just where you are. Like, are you feeling like you need better food, or what are your eating habits? What are your sleeping habits? What's your mental health state? Are you engaging with the world in the way that you want to? Are you productive? What level of productivity are you looking for?
Why don't you give us an example of all of that, how you live your life healthy? Because you're very healthy.
Well, I try. I'm not totally healthy. It's a work in progress. But I'm trying. So right now, I've been on a health kick because I've had some skin issues, and I needed to sort of address that, and it actually ended up helping my whole body. So I went vegan for a couple of weeks. I couldn't sustain that, but I've been really careful. So I start my morning with a vegetable or a fruit juice that I make fresh.
You've made me a couple. They're awesome.
Yeah, and I make them for everyone I'm going to see in the morning because it's I'm doing that anyway. So it starts with that, and then it's 2 meals the rest of the day, and I'm trying not to snack as much. And if I'm snacking, it's 2 healthy meals, low on carbs, but I need my carbs also. I need the energy, and really, and my sleep schedule actually corrected when I started to do this.
You mentioned that you were vegan for a little while.
Yeah.
But you're eating meat again.
Yeah.
What kind of meat do you eat, just out of curiosity?
I mix it up, and I don't eat meat more than 2 or 3 times a week. So it's I'll have turkey, I'll have fish, I'll have beef, I'll have chicken, but I won't have... I'll do one meat a week.
You don't go overboard.
I don't go overboard. And if I'm eating
Right.
out, I'll eat... Now I'm actually eating both vegetarian, and I used to eat just non-veg outside, and now I'm no.
I was going to give you an example of what I eat on a normal
please.
basis,
Yeah.
but I wanted to see if Herb wanted to give us more of an example other than the 4 Hot Pockets, which I don't think he was totally serious. Although I have seen him eat Hot Pockets.
Yeah, but I'm also diabetic, dude. So I kind of pay attention to my carb intake.
So what do you normally eat?
What I normally eat in the morning times, I like a lot of grain stuff. So I'll do cereal and oatmeal and stuff like that. Then lately I've been eating a lot of salad for lunch, though. My mom got me lunch a couple of days in a row, and it's been like a lot of rice and meats. So whatever, I'll indulge in that. But I usually just try to watch my carb intake.
Did you grow up with kind of a traditional, like, I know you're Puerto Rican. I mean, did you guys eat a lot of traditional?
A lot of traditional Puerto Rican meals. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He sounds pretty healthy, dear.
He actually sounds pretty healthy. I told you this. Like, when you said the Hot Pockets thing, I was like, the conversations I've had with Herb, like, Herb actually, thinks about what he's eating.
I think the first couple of times I came in here, we worked together, he had Hot Pockets, and that's what made me think of Hot Pockets. I even mentioned it to him. He asked me if I wanted one, and I was like, I don't eat that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay.
I think Herb and I might have this in common. Like, when life gets a little crazy, we eat a little badly. Like, that's just... I think.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah. I mean,
food.
Every once in a while, I'll eat something disgusting and
right.
just love it.
Right. And sometimes you got to eat something disgusting and just love it. It's like, when you're cheating, just cheat all the way. Like, just do it.
It's funny because I wrote down my regular routine on here, but I left off my two biggest problems that I have: French fries and potato chips. I love both of them. I can't go a day without either one of those at some point. But this is what I was thinking about. What's my daily diet thing? Because I wanted to get your feedback on this. I always do iced tea and extra lemons every day. Mm-hmm. This is from the Diesel Cafe, by the way. I'm still waiting for them to sponsor a show. Jess, I know you're listening, Jess. A best iced tea, Davis Square, Somerville, Diesel Cafe. Funny how this turned into a commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But
good one.
Lately I've been eating blueberries or cherries or some kind of fruit first thing in the morning. And I started that Activate Me thing that Maggie Q, the actress, was advertising, and I watched her 20-minute presentation, and I ordered the powdered drink. I'm still about a week into it. One thing I did notice is my stomach doesn't bother me as much as it used to.
That's great.
So I think there's something good in there. I don't have the ingredients, so I should have probably brought. We'll do that another time.
We'll do that another time.
You can look at those ingredients. But I eat eggs every morning, like an egg sandwich or eggs and toast. And then it's usually like a pescatarian diet, which could include like white fish, shrimp, tuna fish, beyond beef products, because I don't eat any meat. A lot of salads, a lot of veggies, red wine, and weed. That's basically my routine. What do you think about that routine, Dia?
I actually like your morning routine a lot, Steve, and I we've talked about this too. So lemons and water is really good for morning. It helps to balance out your body. I think it's your acidity in your body that it helps to balance out. But it really also just cleans out and washes out your body, so it's really good. The fruits that you're talking about, berries, are incredible.
I love berries.
Yeah, berries are great for antioxidants.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Cherries and blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, are they all in the same family, or are cherries not really part of that?
I don't know if I don't know that I know the answer to that.
Because that has a seed and the others don't. Well, I guess
strawberries have seeds on the outside.
They do have seeds. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know if they were in the same category.
I always kind of thought that maybe cherries weren't as healthy as blueberries and strawberries because there's a lot of sugar in them.
So sugar, I think natural sugars are okay. Like, I've cut out any what is it called? Like, not natural sugars, like added sugars. I've cut all of that out. Natural sugars, I think, are fine, and before 3 p.m. in the afternoon, because your body needs that in your body. So your body cleanses in the morning. So anything that's cleansing is helpful in the morning.
I read labels because I won't. I try to stay away from high fructose corn syrup because it's in so many, like Heinz ketchup, which is the traditional great ketchup, has high fructose corn syrup in it. So I get organic ketchup, at usually Whole Foods or Whole Foods is where I've been going.
Yeah.
I found the one in Wellesley. Boy, that's an uppity place, man, I'll tell you.
Find what you need there.
People don't know where Wellesley is that are listening to us in other countries, because I did notice we have 10% of our audience now is foreign countries outside the U.S.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
It's
cool.
the flavor I got in here. You two.
Yeah.
You got good flavor here.
Nice.
You know, we're not a bunch of white people hanging around talking about white stuff, you know? We're
trying to diversify.
we're diversifying, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I had. If there's something you want to add about dieting and stuff, I'm sure our listeners would love to hear it.
So I think, when we talk about healthy living, I think that what I really purport is mindful living. And so that just means that you kind of pay attention without judgment, pay attention to the things that you're doing every day, your habits, and they include eating, they include exercise, even in how you interact with other people, because it's all energy transfer at the end of the day. And so you're kind of like measuring all of that all of the time. And once you've done that long enough, it's almost like you have control over the rest of your day. You have control over, oh, okay, you know what? This person takes too much energy from me, right? You know, so I can't do that right this second. I can do that another day, though. So let's, reschedule
People do take a lot of energy
Yeah, I mean, it's
from you.
Yeah, it's an energy exchange.
I mean, look at Herb sits here on Saturday and records like 4 podcasts in a row. I don't know. And one of them lasts about 3 hours usually, the antisocial one. But I mean,
and then he's here till like 9 p.m. like
editing
and like putting the shows
doing a
together.
great job on the editing.
Yeah.
I thank drugs for keeping me sane.
Oh.
The weed has been helpful.
Yeah, there just so happens to be a weed show that's next. So
Right.
Herb will be like very fine by the time the antisocial
Very.
conditioning starts up today.
Right. But yeah, so just to wrap that up, like I think the most important thing about healthy living is for you to be conscious about how it is you want to be living your life, and then make those necessary changes. Pay attention to your habits, because your habits are really, at the end of the day, who you are. So pay attention to that.
Thank you for being our life coach. We needed a life coach around here.
I'm here.
Before we move on to a couple of other fun things, let's play another song.
Yeah.
This is Greg Allen's Fringe Religion doing the song with one of the great titles ever, Joe the Tow Truck Driver. This is from the Happiness is on the Way EP. Take it away, Herb.
King of the neighborhood.
Tow Truck Driver from Greg Allen's Fringe Religion from the Happiness is on the Way EP, which is recorded by the legendary Paul Calderi at Vernant Studio in Vermont. That record is actually being distributed by Bomp Records, which is one of the coolest garage punk rock distributors in the country. Greg was one of the first people I saw following the long lockdown in April. He took me on a couple of long, grueling walks through the hills of Swampscott down to Nahant Beach. I mean, we were sweating. It was like, you need exercise, Steve. And he takes me up this giant hill. And I'm like, why are we walking up a hill when the beach is over there? And then we get to the top and there's the ocean. And I'm like, thank you, dude.
That's awesome.
He's now working on a new full-length album, by the way, which we're looking forward to very much. We're going to get Greg back in the studio to talk about music because he's like an encyclopedia for rock with all his records and books and stuff. So I'll look forward to having Greg Allen back in here. Diya?
Yes.
Weren't you going to tell us something?
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm like, wait, what? I was going to tell you something. I was going to say, actually, we were going back a little bit, to the first portion. We were talking about, so Steve left me a banana. He's like, here, you can have a prop. So bananas.
It's a good prop.
It's sure.
For those of you that can see the banana.
The banana. Herb was talking about diabetes. So there are certain fruits and vegetables that you have to be watchful of. So bananas are one of those. So if you have a banana, bananas are really high in sugar. They're great for an extra boost of energy, but not great if you've had like other sugars that day, especially for people.
It's
with
also
diabetes,
part of that famous
example.
brat diet that if you get sick, did you hear, or your stomach issues,
Yeah.
bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. The famous brat diet.
Got
It's
it.
if you have a lot of bad
Yeah,
stomach problems. People told me that if you eat that for a few days,
It eases it
rice
out.
is really healing, right?
Yeah, rice
It
is really
right?
healing, yeah.
I mean, coming from India, did you guys eat a lot of rice?
Listen, that's my Achilles heel. I cannot give up rice. I need my rice.
Oh,
at
so I'm
least,
right.
like,
Yeah, so
I
it's
need
part of
my
the
rice.
diet. Asia's like that.
Yeah.
Everyone in Asia digs the rice.
Yeah,
man.
and I'm actually learning this. Like, I've been having a lot of lentils to sort of.
Oh, I like lentils.
Yeah, so, and you've had some of that lentil soup that I made.
Yes.
So, like, I've been making lots of lentils like
She has
that.
been cooking stuff for me, making me juices, Herb. I'm telling you, man. How do you think she got this gig, man?
I've been buying my way in. What I've been learning though is that there are certain foods that need to be paired together for it to work best. And so rice and lentils, apparently, like you need to have a little bit of rice
I like both.
to get the nutrients of the lentils out. Sorry, I can stop dorking out about this.
No, I like it. I think our listeners will be very impressed that we're actually thinking about our health.
Yeah.
They just think that we sit around and smoke weed all day.
Well, given that how much we
do.
talk about it, given how much we talk about it also, just remember that just because we're talking about it doesn't mean we're doing it the same.
Yes, indeed. So where are we going next with this Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico episode?
I think it's time for rock and roll road stories with Twisted Rico.
We need some music right there. We got to get Herb to do like a dun, 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 like the Pussycat Charms thing or something. We're going to incorporate that into the next show, Herb. We could do that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
So
do
what
that.
is this rock and roll road stories thing? We did this already last week.
We did.
That. Altoids.
Yep, it's
Here
the
we go.
Altoid box. So
The Altoid box.
The Altoid
People are
box.
like, what are they talking
I know.
about?
It's in a little Altoid box for viewers. Yes. And these are so I had Steve list out the names of all the cities that he's visited and
The ones I could remember.
The ones he could remember. And the ones he was willing to talk about, let's be fair. And so Herb and I have been picking. So the last show, Herb and I picked names of two cities, and
Good ones.
And Steve had to tell us stories. And the thing
Pressure.
about the thing about the story is it has to be the very first story
Pressure.
that comes to mind. So we just have to watch for what he actually says after that. But it's fun.
I'm going
That's
to try
the
and
fun
keep
part
it
of this.
clean.
He's going to try really hard. We've been practicing.
Who's
So,
picking
Herb, do you want to pick
first?
one?
Sure.
Uh-oh. I'm nervous.
Okay.
That little guy right there?
The little guy reads.
Sunglasses.
Yeah, you need your sunglasses.
Sunglasses.
Oh, your computer bag.
Oh, luckily my computer wasn't in the back. That would have been a
He wants
disaster.
to wear sunglasses just so he can hide any of the other things. It's kind of funny.
Because I don't want you to see where my eyes go if you're watching on video, because then you'll know what I'm thinking, and I don't want you to know what I'm thinking. So if I put shades on, you won't know what I'm thinking.
That's what he thinks.
Because you know
great.
what the first thing that comes to mind is every time. I know people think I'm a perv. I mean, I'm sorry. I think about girls I met on the road. I mean, I'm sorry. Forgive me for being a man.
He's been wanting to be a woman all of his life.
Yes,
That's
I'm a
all it
lesbian in a
is.
man's body.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Okay, I think I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
So nervous.
I'm ready.
Rochester.
Rochester, New York. Wow. Well, the first thing that comes to mind, Rochester, before I remember, a couple things that come in, but there's a great store up there called House of Guitars. You walk into it and they have more guitars than you've ever seen in your life. They have every kind of instrument and they have records and everything. The guys from the Chesterfield Kings, a famous garage rock band up there, famous. The second thing I think of is the Record Archive, which is stores that my very good friend Elena is a co-owner of. And Elena, I've had a lot of great times. And I'll remember two different bands that come into my mind that I was up there with. One was Jacko Pierce. They always end up in every story because I had so much fun with those guys when I was on the road. And they played up there, and we had a blast up there. And then I went with the Charms once, and the Charms actually did a show in Record Archive, and it was fantastic. Excuse me, I could go on and on about Rochester. It's like a small city, but it's got rock. There's something rock and roll about it. I dig Rochester, New York. Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you. Is that enough?
Is that enough?
Rochester? I can't think
enough?
of anything more like... I don't know what Herb's doing right now, but he caught my attention. Yeah, Rochester, I highly recommend visiting. It's good if you're going up there to see a band play or something like that. I don't know what else there is to do. A lot of these cities, I don't really spend much time. Hotel, restaurant, venue. That's it.
Well, that's why the great
Rochester.
stories, though. All these. All right, you ready for your next one?
The Bug Jar was a really good club in Rochester, too, that I just didn't want to leave that out. Really good. Oh, and Mike Murray does a radio show up there. He's a really good 50s, a whole lot of shaking. And he's a cool guy. He just popped in my head, too. Sorry, a lot of things popped in my head about Rochester.
You spent a lot of time in Rochester, it sounds like.
I did, because it's one of those places that connects tour stops. If you're in Albany, you go to Rochester, then you go to like Ithaca, then you go to Erie, then you go to Pittsburgh. You know, it's all about routing, and it was a good place to get routed.
Got it.
You're going to blow my mind now with your second pick here?
I don't know. Lincoln?
Lincoln, Nebraska. Wow. Okay, the only thing I can remember about Lincoln, Nebraska is it's a very strange city. It's kind of like you got to be careful. You got to be careful what neighborhood you're in. I do remember because I was with the Charms there, and I remember that. And the hotel was not a very good neighborhood. It was a little sketchy. But the newspaper there did a really good story on the Charms before they came, so a lot of people came to the show. And not one of the more exciting places I've been to. It's another one of those places, Nebraska. I mean, most people can't even find Nebraska on the map,
Right.
But there wasn't really a heck of a lot about... I'm sorry, this is boring compared to Atlanta and New York that we had last time, but
that's life, right?
Yeah.
Like, not everything is always exciting.
Lincoln, Nebraska, it's one of those connecting it's a secondary tour market, I'd say.
Got it.
Like in Rochester would be a tertiary tour market.
Yeah.
Like, primary would be Boston, Philly, Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco, Dallas, and so on and so forth. If you feel like you got ripped off on that, you want to do another one, we can do another one.
I don't feel like I got ripped off.
You got your money's worth?
I think I got my money's worth. The Rochester, we got a lot of stories out of. And I think we have a lot of listener questions this week. So
yeah, we do. They all come from one person.
No, we have a lot of listener questions.
Wow, those glasses really messed me up, I'll tell you.
Put on your old man glasses now. Let's get started.
What did you just say?
Making fun of you.
You said old man glasses.
I did.
I thought these were hip. Oh, I didn't put my hip glasses on this week because I'm not hip. Sorry. Well, this is going to be fun. Debbie Rogers, who I worked with many, many years ago, she is the one that actually bugged me to go see Poison. I've talked about this before. We worked together at Green World Enigma, and then she spent a long time working for Iron Maiden, the heavy metal band Iron Maiden, their management company. And she's one of the most smartest and most knowledgeable people I know. She knows everybody in every band.
She sounds pretty
badass.
badass.
You could name any metal band, and she'll tell you about someone in the band that she knows.
Yeah.
Why are you pointing to my glasses? Did you want me to put them back on?
No, I don't. You've been banging on the table.
I've been timming out?
You've been timming out. Just...
I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to bang on the table. I get excited sometimes because these questions are so exciting. She sent 4 questions, and I want you guys to chime in on this stuff too. The first question is, I love this question, why in the world do you think Guns N' Roses got so popular? Okay, she knows me well because wait till you hear my response. Ready? Wrote it down. I'm not a fan at all of the band. Although I like Izzy Stradlin's songwriting, I like Slash's flamboyant playing style, I like Duff's stage presence, plus I read Duff's book, which was fantastic. I also got to know Gilby Clarke, who was the second generation guitar player in the band, and we met a few times and talked about his music. And both drummers, Steven Adler and Matt Sorum, are decent, but I can't stand Axl Rose at all. There's just something about the guy that always bugged me. And the first time I got to know Axl personally, Ton Mastery, well-known DJ, and Johnny Teagarden, well-known manager, both L.A. women that were really involved in the scene, showed up at my house one day in 1986. We were going to a metal show at the country club, and they're like, I go to get in the car in the back seat, and there's a guy in there already. It's Axl Rose. So I get to hang out with Axl Rose driving from El Segundo, where they picked me up, to the Valley in San Fernando. And he talked about himself nonstop and told me how much of a star he's going to be. He basically wore me out in that conversation. I actually went my separate way when we got to the club. I'm like, I'm going to go do my own thing. It was funny, though, when I got out of the car at the country club, I got out one side, I got the other, and Ton gets it on my side, and I'm like, this guy did you hear him? He only talked about how he's going to be a star the whole time, and Ton goes, he's going to be a star. That's what I'll never forget that. Ton Mastery, rest in peace. She told me, and now they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they're like, Guns N' Roses is like a household name, but why in the world do you think they became so popular? Do you guys have any input on that? Maybe Herb does.
I have some input too, but Herb can go first.
They're fashion.
They're fashion?
Fashion?
What do you mean?
Well, the hat that Slash had was great.
Yeah, that was
right about that.
Yeah.
Notice I didn't badmouth any of the guys in the band because I do like those guys.
So that's an interesting experience that you had with Guns N' Roses, and I can understand why you didn't like the band based on the lead singer.
He came out to California from Indiana, and his goal was to make it become a big rock star, so I have to respect that about him. Yeah. But I don't really like any of their songs. I don't like Welcome to the Jungle and Sweet Child of Mine.
I like Sweet Child of Mine, and I like, okay, so I grew up in the era of November Rain. Like, I was in middle school, and that was...
November Rain.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Yep, I know that song. That's a good one. Slash's lead solo in the video.
It's awesome.
I think Herb might be kind of related to Slash now that I think about it. He kind of has a little Slash vibe. Did anyone ever tell you that before, Herb?
I've never heard that before.
Okay.
Maybe the hair, maybe the
when
hair.
You afroed out, I took that photograph right there. Sorry, I got distracted by the screen. That was distracting.
Yeah.
But if Herb had his afro and he put on the hat, he'd look like Slash.
I think so. I mean, this is, I think, where the fashion thing comes from. Maybe you have tested this out already.
I own like 3 of those hats at home. I'm just too
You
scared
do?
to wear
Totally
them.
tested
I'm
this
just
out.
too scared to wear them in public.
Do it.
Oh.
You got to wear it one day on the show.
I gotta learn how to play guitar better.
Well, you're a sound man. You do sound differently.
You're a guitar
Yeah,
player,
come on.
too.
Yeah.
You play guitar.
No, does he?
Not as good as Slash though.
Well, you have to give him credit. He is a good guitar player.
Yes.
So I'm sure some people are going to get upset about my reaction to the question. I know Debbie won't, because that's why she asked me, because she knows that I don't like them, and she doesn't either. But I liked Velvet Revolver, and that was all
They were,
those
yeah.
guys without.
Yeah.
I really liked
good.
Velvet Revolver.
Yeah.
That's a great album, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song, Fall to Pieces, is like the story of the singer's life. He eventually did fall to pieces. Okay, we got more questions here.
I think to make it big, though, you kind of have to be like,
An asshole?
well, egomaniacal for sure.
Yes.
And like this is I've been thinking about this a little bit. Our world is very narcissistic, so this is like playing into that narcissism. So yeah, that's just where we are.
A lot of people feel the same way about Axl, though. He's kind of annoying, you know?
Yeah,
really
he is annoying. He's annoying even on that video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
November Rain.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
annoying?
Like that's what's playing in my head right now. So it's like, yeah, even in that video, he's super annoying. But you know, right. But then there's Slash and the guitar solo, and it's awesome. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Oh, someone's going to hate me for this. Here's a great question.
just opinions.
If you ever embarrassed yourself in front of a musician?
Of course you have. How have you? Ooh, I can't wait. How have you?
Oh, this is really embarrassing, but I will tell it. Poison, before we signed them, Matt Smith was the original guitar player of the band, and he got faced with the unenviable situation where his girlfriend became pregnant, and he had to decide whether to stay in L.A. as a member of Poison or move back to Pennsylvania to be the father. He chose to go back to Pennsylvania. If he didn't leave the band, C.C. DeVille never would have been in the band. Well, the night while that was happening, I'm in the middle of trying to get Poison to sign a deal, and I really wanted to talk to Bobby, the bass player. And so I went up to him, hey, we got to do this, we got to do that. And he started screaming at me, like in front of everyone in the dressing room at the Troubadour. Like, my best friend is to leave the band, and you want to talk about this stuff? And man, was I embarrassed. It was one of my most embarrassing moments. I had to leave then. I was really young at the time, too. I was like 24 years old. And I just went home and I was bummed. Usually I would hang out after a Poison show, and there was a lot of fun to be had, but not that night. But Bobby did call me the next day, and he said, hey, man, I'm sorry I flipped out on you. But everyone in the whole dressing room looking at me when one of the guys in the band's yelling at me was very embarrassing. So that would have to be my most embarrassing, although I will share something equally embarrassing with you, and I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I am. Do it. Paul was playing a show in Albany, New York, and before the show, I went out with Charlie Lindano and Leah Dudek. Leah worked for Polygram, and Charlie was the radio guy for A&M. We went out to a nice Italian restaurant, drank a couple bottles of wine, ate some food. But the thing about PAR is when you show up at one of their shows, if you're the record company guy, you have to bring a bottle of bourbon. They were really weird about that. They wouldn't let you in the dressing room unless you had bourbon. So I got a bottle of Jack that night. I figured, okay. And the other thing is, you got to take the first swig. So I get back there and I take a big swig, man, and then I just switched over to Jack and Cokes. I'm like, fuck, who cares if I drank all that wine? Got really wasted. When Paul was done and they came off stage, once again, room full of people. What does Steev decide to do? Because Grant Fitch, the guitar player, plays this long guitar thing and wouldn't leave the stage, and everyone was gone. So when he came walking in, Steve's like, I'm going to kiss him. So I kiss him, but he takes it to the next level and sticks his tongue in my mouth, throws me on the floor, pins me down, and is making out with me, and I'm making out with him in front of a room full of people. And Leah was there with me, and she's like, I didn't know Steev was gay. I'm like, I didn't know I was gay either till that night. And man, when I got back to the hotel, that room, Leah and I shared a room that night, I puked my guts out. If that's not embarrassing enough of a story to share, I don't know what is. But
Brilliant.
that was embarrassing.
It's worth it.
You got 2 out of me.
Nice.
This one I need you guys on.
Thanks, Debbie.
This is a good one. You guys are going to go first. What is the most overplayed song? Period. What is the most overplayed song?
Oh.
Debbie's good, huh? She has good questions.
This is something I need to think about.
I already have mine because I got to think about it. You want me to go first?
Yeah, please.
I can't stand this song. It's the most overplayed rubbish ever. Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band is repulsive. There's a lot of songs that I don't like, but that is repulsive.
I have to say, like in Boston, there's like Roxanne will play it every
Everywhere.
bar.
Police.
Dude. Yeah, every bar, dude. Like someone, especially if the bar has a jukebox, that song will go on, dude. I don't know why, dude, but it plays everywhere, dude.
You don't have to put on your red light, Roxanne. Singing is not supposed to be part of this podcast. Diya?
But it's been fun.
Diya loves all songs. I guarantee you she won't think of one that's overplayed.
Listen, there are plenty of songs
She
that
likes Sweet
play.
Child of Mine.
Yeah, when I was like, a tween, absolutely. And yes, and when I remember that, it makes me happy because I remember my tween days.
Tell how happy you are right now.
Look, the song's not playing in my head. So for me to come up with another one is going to be kind of challenging. There's a song. There is one song. I can't remember.
Should I ask the next question?
Yeah,
Because there's one more, and then we can go back. Because the next question's a real doozy as well.
All right, great.
She's full of doozies.
Love this, Debbie.
Debbie writes, do you prefer redheads or brunettes? Of course I prefer blondes, so I don't know why she asked me that question. But I love redheads, I love brunettes, and I love all. What about you, Herb?
It doesn't matter. He's not getting any anyway.
N.A.
He's not getting any. N.A.? What does that mean? You don't want to offend any of the blondes, brunettes, and redheads in your life?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, blondes have more fun. So what about you, Diya? I'm sorry, Diya, you're not a blonde.
I'm not a blonde.
Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, Diya's not a blonde.
I've got dark hair. I've got black hair. So it's not the kind of hair that most people want. That works for me. So redheads I didn't think were attractive until recently. I wasn't really into redheads. So now I'm like, ooh, redheads are actually really cute. But no, I have no preference.
Is the redheads that you're talking about naturally redheaded,
Yes,
or did
yes.
they dye their hair red?
No, naturally.
Because I had a girlfriend for a long time, Terry, I always say I'm not going to bring up personal. I do this every time.
Yeah.
But Terry used to dye her hair, and it was like a burgundy color. It was really cool. But she was not. She was a dirty blonde, but more like light brown, really light brown hair.
Yeah.
I don't know why you asked that question, Debbie. Because, you're usually a brunette, and sometimes you're a redhead, probably. So you tried to trick me. It didn't work.
There was one guy, my very first boyfriend in high school, 9th grade. He came in one day with bright pink hair, and he was this tall, like skinny dude, like with bright pink hair. And I looked at him, and I couldn't look at him, and so I just laughed, and I was like, "We can't date anymore. I'm like, we can't do this. I can't look at you. I can't look at you. So how can I be dating you? No,
wow.
Look, I've grown since then. I've grown and changed since then. I'm not that much of an asshole anymore. But yeah, that happened.
I don't think you're an asshole at all.
Thanks.
I don't think you ever
I had
were.
to work on it.
That's awful.
I think you're exaggerating.
No, I did.
Before you tell us about our sponsor, Diya, did you think of an overplayed song that you?
No, you were right.
Nothing's overplayed.
I have Guns N' Roses playing in my head right now. So sorry, Debbie.
Do you guys think Stairway to Heaven or Freebird are overplayed songs? Would that fall into that category?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, so I grew up in Asia, right? I spent a lot of like my developing years in Malaysia and all of that.
Uh-huh.
Frankly, like rock and roll, like, is overplayed there. That's
Really?
all. Yeah, like that's all you would hear. Like, and we would hang out in places like the Hard Rock Cafe, and like if you're hanging out at the Hard Rock, that's what you're listening to. So there's a lot of music.
But you love rock and roll because you're on a rock and roll based podcast.
I love rock
Okay.
and roll.
Just
I
wanna make
love
sure.
rock and roll. But when you're listening to rock and roll in Southeast Asia, sometimes it's a Filipino man singing those songs, and so
Ooh.
right, so it's like the pictures don't always fit,
Hmm.
and so the songs are changed a little bit. So that's kind of why also like my music is a little skewed. Like I grew up on rock and roll radio, and yeah,
I get you. I
Yeah.
get it.
foreign
I get
worlds, foreign worlds.
All right.
Sorry.
So what's up?
So, our sponsor for today's show is JLS Design. JLS Design does custom screen printing and embroidery on t-shirts, hats, hoodies, masks, and the like. In fact, our very popular, I don't have it on me, our very popular Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico t-shirt and masks were printed by JLS Designs. You can reach them at Steve's holding it up. Steve's holding up the mask for you. They've been awesome. They're so comfortable too, and they stay on your face. It's great. You can reach them. Ooh, thanks, Herb.
Thanks, Herb.
Thanks, Herb. They can be reached at jlsdesignprinting.com, jlsdesignsales@gmail.com. And if you tell them that we sent you from Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico, you'll get a 10% discount.
Right on.
Enjoy.
Right on. I just want to take this opportunity, by the way, to thank all the fine companies that have sponsored this podcast over the last year and a half. JLS Design, as we just mentioned, the Dark Horse Pub in Somerville. And I also want to apologize because I noticed in the porn episode, the porn and podcast episode, I called them the Black Horse Pub. So I just want to make sure. I know that you're the Dark Horse Pub. It was a slip up on my part. We do make mistakes, believe it or not, every now and then, mostly me. And Baby Loves Tacos in Pittsburgh. And of course, the Moonbeam Cafe in Oakmont, PA. Hi, Nina. Nina sent me a great care package this week, and I'm sorry I forgot to. I think I got some stickers in my bag, but she sent me a T-shirt. She sent me some tea.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
tea bags.
That's
and,
awesome. That
she's
was on
so
your
nice.
stories.
Yes, I
Yeah,
put it
yeah,
on
yeah.
my Instagram. So she's so
Yeah.
nice. I love you, Nina. If anyone out there is interested in sponsoring any of our episodes, please contact me at twistedrico@gmail.com. I'd love to get more sponsors on as we move forward here. Before leaving, we want to thank our engineer, the one and only Dorchester's own Herb Morsiglio.
Woo!
He didn't really go off this week. And also all our patrons whose monthly contributions keep the Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico podcast going. Kevin, Ellie, Maria, Chris W., Heather, Sue K., Matt, Dave, Maria, Brian, Benjamin, Lee, Chad, Christopher, and Kim. And man, do I have exciting news. We have 2 brand new patrons this week, Hector and Kelly. Thank you both. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Twisted Rico. Once again, you can contact me at we're going to have a phone number, by the way, a listener's line. I couldn't get that together because I got another line from my phone service, but I need to have 2 phones, and my other phone, I didn't get the voicemail set up, so I didn't want to give the number out. But I could have
It's
given
too much
the number
information,
out.
Steve.
It is.
Like,
it
just
is.
say, yeah, it's too much information.
It's way too much, and I keep banging the microphone in my head today.
It's driving me nuts.
I'm sorry.
God.
Sorry.
All right, wrap it up. Let's go.
Yeah. Wrap it. So now we know who's in charge around here. So, you can follow Instagram at Twisted Rico or on Twitter at Blowing Smoke BS. There's also a Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico Facebook page, and you can find some of our shows on YouTube, which some of them are doing very well, actually. Thanks, Herb, for that. This is Blowing Smoke with Twisted Rico. I'm your host, Steve Ricardo. Thank you, Dia.
Thank
Forgot
you.
Forgot to say thank you to the boss. Till the
love
next
your
time we
boss.
say goodbye, keep the rock and roll alive. And who do we love, dear?
Busy Philip.
Busy Phillips. Peace and out.